everybody? Welcome into Tom Curran's Patriots Talk Podcast with Phil Perry. It's a Tuesday in May, but believe it or not, we got a ton to talk about. We have Tom Brady's, announcement that he's going to be working for $375 million over a 10-year period for Fox once he finally walks away from the NFL. We're going to hit on that. We're also going to get into Nelson Agholor, who we had access to and a great conversation, asked him directly as to whether or not he feels, if his number is too big right now. And finally, schedule talk. Phil, boy, do we have some fun ahead of us today, huh?
People thought we wouldn't be able to put together a fascinating podcast on May 10th, but the people were wrong.
Look at the smoothie I made, too.
Get that on the docket. Smoothie talk.
A spoonful of greens and a little packet of Advocare strawberry. And that's the type of thing that Tom Brady would probably smile about, except for the strawberries. So news comes down that he is going to work for Fox. And when we talk about the why of it, I think it's not surprising in that the cool kids do it now. Tony Romo did it and has done it. It's not an old man's just retire and put on a tie job. Peyton Manning and Eli Manning were a sensation doing it last year. God knows how much money they were making. Brady's going to make twice as much as anybody else. Keeps his hand in the game when he does eventually walk away. And he's always looking for that next Everest. So to me, it doesn't surprise me. I mean, the timing surprises me, but it doesn't surprise me that he would say, yeah, that's cool. I'll do it because Peyton did.
Yeah, the Peyton connection is a really good one for you to bring up because I think it probably opened the door for Brady in some ways, at least in his own mind, because we're not used to seeing the greats, the true greats, the best of the best go into the booth, right? I mean, Montana, I think, did it briefly, very briefly, and was not very good and was out. Marino, I don't think did it long. If he did it at all, he did it very briefly.
He wasn't into it.
Elway, these are the guys he's in the conversation with. Terry Bradshaw obviously has won a bunch of Super Bowls and has been in media forever. But that's the first thing that comes to mind for me is, we're just not used to seeing guys of his stature from the game moving to the booth until we saw Manning did it. But even Tom, as Manning's doing it, he's doing it from his living room. Mm-hmm. Like that one makes sense because it's like, wait, I can just look at my computer and watch the game at the same time and just talk and get paid a bunch of money. It doesn't sound like that's what Tom Brady's going to be doing. This is going to be a little bit more of an inhibiting factor to his social life or his other business interests, I guess, because he's going to have to spend more time. He's going to have to travel. He's going to do production meetings, all that sort of stuff, I would guess.
And then it's a 10-year deal. So it's not like I'm just going to take this for a dry run. Maybe there's, trap doors he can get out of it if he doesn't love it, but it's a 10-year commitment just on the face of it, reported by, I think it was Andrew Marchand from New York Daily News or The Athletic or someplace on Twitter, but God bless Andrew. Thanks for keeping us up to date. And if it wasn't you, I apologize on that front, but it's just a blizzard of information that I get pouring over me. So I might've gotten that wrong. However, yeah, he's not just doing it on a lark to say, how does this go? He's committing to doing it. And I guess the logic would be, well, if Fox is going to have $37 million a year locked up in them, then they can ask them to go where they want to. But if you're Brady, it comes back to that phrase from a 1980s movie, Wall Street, with Michael Douglas. How many yachts can you water ski behind? I mean, why do you need to do that? I mean, what's if you don't want to spend all those fall Sundays? Andrew Marchand, New York Post, great job by Adam Jay-Z. If you don't want to spend all those fall Sundays someplace else, then you would just say no, unless the money is that big of an enticement, Phil.
It's a lot of money. I mean, he's going to be paid far more than he's ever been paid per year to be a broadcaster than he was to be a football player, which is wild to think about. But Tom, you're right in that he already has a ton of money, but I totally get him wanting to make more. The reason it surprised me, the announcement surprised me aside from the timing, was just that Tom Brady's the kind of guy who can get flown to Paris in 10 minutes to do $1 million, 20-minute meeting with the CEO and his, top generals of any company in that particular city. You know what I'm saying? Like, and this is the kind of thing that he could do on a whim whenever he wants, but whatever his schedule allows for. This is more of a commitment. It is more time. And I just assumed he would find a way to wiggle into an owner's box and watch games from there before he would become a broadcaster and be watching from the broadcast booth. That's just how I envisioned his post-playing career going. This is a different path. And
the funny thing about it is, I bet they're not mutually exclusive. See, we keep putting limitations on what this guy will entertain and try to accomplish. But now that he's been loosed from, I called it in our email, his gilded cage here in New England, where he thought that the world ended at the end of the football world ended at the end of Foxborough.
Route 1.
He's out there. He understands that it is a brave new world. And at 45, instead of in the little email, he's gone like from Beaver Cleaver to Hugh Hefner in 2 years' time. He can't get enough of everything. And he's going to try and climb every Everest and tilt at every single windmill and try and do things that nobody else thinks is possible. So that's why I look at the Miami thing. I was talking to Jeff Capitosto, one of our producers for Early Edition. He goes, well, you can't have him sit in production meetings if he's a part owner of the Dolphins. On the other hand, why not? Coach doesn't want him to know anything. Coach I thought
about this too, though. I don't know. I mean, I guess he's just not going to get any good information. Yeah. I mean, if he's in the front office and, part owner in Miami, I mean, is he going to get any kind of meaningful insight? Maybe it doesn't matter. He's Tom Brady. He's got all the insight he needs already stashed away up there in his brain. But I do, I don't know. That's just, I don't know. Am I still that connected to old school journalism practices that I would look at this and say, is Fox really going to want Tom Brady calling an AFC East game if he's a part owner for the Miami Dolphins? Feels like there's some inherent bias there.
I think they cartwheels.
I don't think they care, right? That's an old school way of thinking.
Yep. No, I mean, not when you are ESPN and you've already aligned with Brady. I mean, Brady is now rolled around the sheets with ESPN and Fox.
He would be providing opinions that you would think would be uncolored by bias.
Right. But on the other hand,
in his new job, then the whole mixing up with ESPN now, it doesn't matter because he's not part of the broadcast team. He's not talking to us about other teams and his true opinions on those things. He's just talking about himself. This would be a different role.
Right. But I think what's more highly valued now is, even if the opinion is laundered, you look at it as being more valuable than somebody else observing it from afar. Like my opinion on Tom Brady, knowledgeable as it might be over the course of time that I know him, and I think that I have a feel for who he is and why he does things that he does. Who gives a shit what I think? Get it from him, even if he's going to be aggrandizing in any way. Like when you don't talk about Malcolm Butler in the Man in the Arena episode that covers the 2017 Super Bowl. How can you not do that? That's not journalistically sound. So what? Sell it.
It's Brady.
Who cares? And that's the interesting thing. It's all walls have been broken down. Do you think he'll be good? I do. Do you? I'm not sure. I think he wants to be liked by everybody. We've talked about this before. He has that in him. He is somebody who does not love confrontation. And I think there's going to be a real piece of him that's going to have a hard time bringing about that sort of quote unquote confrontation by criticizing people in front of millions of people on a network broadcast. I think he's going to have a hard time with that. I think that's a really cool way of looking at it. I'm going to tweak it. I don't think he does well with criticism of his performance. Of his own performance. Yeah. Because I think he'll take the slings and arrows of, oh, he retired and he unretired and now he's back. And oh, he acted like he was drunk coming off the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Oh, he'll do this and that. Or he'll leave the Patriots out of his pseudo retirement thing. And he'll take those slings and arrows because he put himself there. But if he bears his chest and says, hey, I'm going to sit next to Jim Nantz and give you guys some color, and he has like 9 jokes that fall flat, and he's not nearly as, not Jim Nantz, whoever the hell he's doing with. Kevin Burkhardt. Thank you. Who I actually like. Yeah. Then And people say he sucks. He's boring. He's not fun to listen to. He's not accustomed to that kind of criticism.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that. I was talking about, criticizing.
I think he could. I think he
Mike
would
McCarthy on a Monday night,
I think he would because he thinks that people wouldn't expect him to. And I think all about Tom Brady at 44 and 40 plus is saying, I'm not who you think I am.
I think that's a fair point too. And I do think there's probably a part of him that I'm not giving enough credit to, which is when he's there in the moment above a football field with meaningful football being played, it's going to be hard for him, I think, not to share his honest feelings. I think he so appreciates good football and he's so competitive and he would get into it. His juices would get flowing in that way that we would hear real honest opinion and analysis from him in real time. I just hope it's better than his podcast. I think his podcast is really rough to listen to with Scratchy there. And there's just not a lot. He just doesn't provide much. There's just not
cozy.
much.
See, that's the shit about when he steps out, it's on his terms and it's very cozy. Whether it's time with Gronk or Edelman or on his podcasts or in his documentaries, they're all on his terms. The people who tune in to an NFL game are demanding of a certain level of analysis. And even if you're the most accomplished person in the history of the entire sport, and I was thinking about this, Phil, is he the most accomplished person in NFL history? Coach, owner, player. Nobody has accomplished more than he has in the 25 almost year span, or what will end up being a 35-year stretch as player, perhaps owner, and announcer. You can't say John Madden did. He won 100 games, John Madden did, and a Super Bowl. I mean, Belichick? No, not the same. Is he the most accomplished person in the history of the game?
Yeah, I think you'd have to say that.
So even if people have Brady fatigue, I still think that they should look forward to seeing this because you're getting Babe Ruth in the box.
Oh yeah, it'll be must watch, even if he's not good, Tom, to start. People will continuously tune in. Bad matchup, with a guy who's not used to being in the booth and not used to criticism and not used to real-time opinion making because, he doesn't want to poke holes in some poor coach's scheme that, doesn't know as much as he does about the game. People will still watch in huge numbers, especially early on.
He thrives on positivity. You're right. And so much of the best media is unvarnished positivity and negativity. What's good, what's bad, what should have been done differently. He can do it. I know he's got the capability of being negative. I know that he's got the capability of being pissed off. I know he's got the capability of being disgusted. So we'll see how well that goes. And Andrew Burkhart, you're going to have your hands full.
It's Kevin, I think. But Andrew Marchand, great job with the report.
Andrew Marchand. I had Andrew Brandt on the brain. Actually, I had Eric Burkhart, Mark Burkhart, who we grew up with in Pembroke.
Eric Burkhart's the NFL agent. Extraordinary.
Yeah. Yep, Danny Amendola agent, Johnny Manziel agent. Be that as it may.
Kyler
too, I forgot.
Yeah, he's been busy.
We're going to get to Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals and how good a destination Arizona is for a football game for you Patriot fans in 2022. But before we do that, we had a chance to talk to Nelson Agholor on Tuesday. And we've talked a lot about Nelson Agholor in this offseason so far, haven't we, Phil? Main reason to scrutinize his numbers. So I had to couch a question to him. And before you folks hear this, Phil, was I a little soft in the couching?
No, I think it was fine. It's a weird time. We don't really know Nelson Agholor because we've never been in the locker room since the guy's been on the team. I didn't want to lose him. So it's hard to sometimes do these things on Zoom. That's all. Yeah,
I didn't want to piss him off, ask him about his contract right out of the chute. So I actually called Reese and said, will you ask the first question? Because I don't want the first question to be, isn't your cap number a little ridiculous? But Nelson Agholor answered that question, answered many more. And by the time we were done, Phil, I'm like, yeah, Yeah, I'll buy that. He's going to be pretty good this year, which I think is what I said last year. Here's a couple minutes of Nelson Agholor. We're going to include the questions so you can hear the context. Hey, Nelson. In normal society, this would be a discourteous question. But because we have to cover the business side of the NFL on all our beats, and we have to look at, okay, there's a cap and there's cap hits and everything else. In looking at the cap hits, yours is big this year. As we scrutinize it, we keep saying, okay, well, will something happen with Nelson Agholor? Do you consider the financial aspects as to what you might do with the Patriots as this offseason goes along? Have they approached you at all? And again, I understand it's general society, that's a discourteous question, but that's what I figured better to ask you than speculate.
No, you're allowed to ask that. I don't focus on that. I'm here for a reason, and I love the opportunity that's given to me to be a Patriot, to work hard. And best part about it is in year 2 in the Patriot system is when guys really get going, and I feel comfortable, and I'm excited to have my best season with the Patriots and, show why I'm here.
Next question, Chris Mason.
Hey, Nelson, thanks for doing this. So you just said year 2 is when people kind of get comfortable in the Patriot system. Like, why do you think that is? And have you noticed any growing comfort level with that?
I definitely have. For me, it's familiarity first with the concepts, familiarity with how we do things, whether it's scheduling, training, all those things, and being more in the routine. I think it helps that I'm familiar with the environment, familiar with my coaching staff in terms of, people in this building, strength staff, training staff. And, I know the routes, because the route tree is unique. It's not, everybody runs certain routes, but the route tree is a little different than where I've ran before. And now I know it. So I get to put my own spin on how we do things and play fast. So I'm just growing, practicing, putting stuff on tape and being comfortable with it, putting my own flavor on what I put on tape. Whereas a year ago, I was learning. So you do things at a certain learning tempo. You never get to just go full speed because you want to make sure you're doing it right. So you kind of move with caution. Now I know what it looks like and I get to just put my flavor on it. So that's the cool part about year 2. You've done it. You've had a year of tape of it. Now you self-study and you go, you just play fast.
All right, we're back. Phil, impressions of Nelson Agholor's time with us. What stood out to you?
Thought he was good. Thought he was honest. Felt like he was really upbeat for a guy who has watched his team hire 2 players that play his position and spent real capital, draft pick capital or actual capital, ostensibly to replace him, Tom. That's just what it looks like, plain and simple. And so your question was a good one. And I thought his answer about, hey, it's my second year here. I'm just getting going here, guys. This is when people start to pick things up. And I'm sure he's been told that by someone in New England and said, hey, Nelson, this is when guys really start to take off. So we need you. Okay. I wonder, Tom, if what is the good case scenario for the Patriots that leads to Nelson Agholor having a great season? Does it require one of these guys being hurt or somebody else getting traded, like Jacoby Myers getting traded, or how does it happen? Because they have too many players there right now.
It's wild, huh?
For them all to contribute.
When you think about, okay, so last year I wrote a slot story that the Patriots don't have a water bug slot. So I have these numbers at the top of my head. 65% of the slot snaps over 470 plays went to Jacoby Myers. 35-ish% went to Kendrick Bourne. Kendrick Bourne and Jacoby Myers were far and away their most productive players at the wide receiver position. Agholor was 30 catches, Phil?
Yeah, I'll have to look it up.
So I'll let you do that while I continue on Agholor. So now you've added Devontae Parker, who, even though he's making $5 million-ish, you still have to look at his talent level and say, okay, you have 50 catches for Bourne, you have 83 catches for Myers, you have, that was last year. I think they're going to come from Myers. I think the catches are coming from Myers.
So the question, though, is because these guys don't all play the same role. Like
I know.
I think Agholor is here.
He backs up
in
all
case,
the roles.
He definitely backs up the outside guys. I mean, and he did play in the slot in Philly, but the reason they brought him here was because he has this unbelievable season as a down the field threat for Vegas, where he catches 48 passes for almost 900 yards. Last year, he caught 37 balls for 473 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Not good enough for a $9 million player.
3 touchdowns. Yeah, it's not. But I couldn't you picture these two things happening at that outside receiver position? Number one, Devontae Parker gets hurt. Number 2, Tyquan Thornton just is a rookie and just doesn't 100%. Get it. And he's fast and that's nice, but they just can't get him on the field. I mean, those two things are very realistic. And so that to me is why you'd keep Nelson Agholor. And if he had a good season, I think that's the kind of scenario you'd be looking at.
Yeah. And you're not strong enough yet, Tyquan. We'd love to put you out there. Let's put you on, apprenticeship like we've done with Ronnie Perkins or whoever else. It's tough to do with a 2nd round pick, to be honest.
You can't, I don't think you can afford to. You just don't have enough talent to be just sitting 2nd round picks, but I could see it happening
across the roster.
I just think in general, you need your 2nd round picks to play early. They're not a good enough team to look at your 2nd rounder and say, hey, you take a year off, buddy. You'll come back next year. You'll be just fine, because they're just not where they need to be talent wise.
I agree, but they are there talent wise at the wide receiver position, I think. At least in terms of humans who can play. I think they can all play. Most likely scenario is the Patriots talk to Nelson Agholor, say, we like you. We know it's going to be a good year, and next year is going to be a good year too. Okay? So let's get this number down, and we're going to extend you through next year and guarantee some money from next year and break it up somehow, right?
It's possible. It's possible. They're looking at it and they say, hey, we're not going to have Jacoby next year. And so this is all going to open up. Spot's going to open up. We're going to need, modern NFL. You need 4 or 5 guys at this position. Yeah. So let's extend them. Let's keep them through 2023. That's something that I had Miguel on Next Pats months ago, it feels like. And he did bring up, I almost fell out of my chair when he suggested extending Nelson Agholor, but it is one way to make that number this year more palatable. Cap balloons next year. You hopefully get him on more manageable salaries. That wouldn't be the craziest thing in the world.
If Bill Belichick wanted to be sinister, diabolical, and a little underhanded, which I'm sure he wouldn't be when it comes to the football business, he would make it a point to make sure that Jacoby Myers only catches 46 balls for 521 yards this year with 0 touchdowns. So that when he does hit the market, everyone's like, Patriots made a player out of him, but we're not going to bang down his door. And the next thing you know, he only has 1 opportunity back here in New England. Wouldn't happen that way, though, would it? All right. Final item, Phil. Schedule release is on Thursday. Don't yet have any Patriots announcements. We're going to do the pod after the schedule release because you guys love that stuff. Where we're going, what's going on. And I put it out on Twitter. Of the 9 different cities the Patriots will visit, I asked folks to rank the cities, 9 being the highest, 1 down to the lowest, as to where they prefer to go. I had about 100 responses, Phil. People were into this. I knew they would be. Tallied up all the numbers, all the 9s, all the 5s, all the 4s. And here's how the voting went. Vegas, with 170 points, was number 1. Second place, far back, Arizona was number 2. Now, this is for a Patriots fan. Okay, this is a trip I'd like to take as a Patriots fan. That's basically the coaching. Number 3, Green Bay, 129 points. And also right behind that, Miami at 124. Then in the 5th spot, we're going to drop down to Pittsburgh with a significant drop-off at 98. 90 for Minnesota. And then bringing up the rear, the Jets with 56, Cleveland with 52, and Buffalo with 44. So, Phil, I know you're having to go off the top of your head here, but let's talk about not just that list, but also my list and see if you agree or disagree with my rankings.
Okay, what do you got?
My number 1 is Vegas. You can do whatever you want out there. The weather's going to be great. You can go to a stadium you've never been to. You can go see an AFC rival with some juice to the game because of McDaniels. You can actually make money. Best case scenario, if there's a Thursday night game in Vegas, you are getting there. Worst case scenario, it's a Monday night game, ruining the rest of your next week. Unless you go out there on Saturday. I didn't even think of that. And take the next week off. Anyway, do you agree with me at Vegas at number one?
I do.
I have it as a 5-star.
That is the 5-star trip. It's the listen, because you're making the trip to watch the game. So the game helps, but it's the weather. You can golf if you want. You go to the casinos, you get great food, you go to a show. It could be a couple's trip. It could also be a trip with your buddies. It could be whatever you want. That's the easy 9-pointer for me. I did this as well, and that was my top choice. Yeah.
My second, Phil, and I did reconfigure it for my answer that I gave on Twitter, was I got Miami as a 5-star. That's my second favorite because it's going to be a good game. The weather can't be bad unless you have Hurricane Ike coming through.
It can be hot, but that's just a sweaty guy talking.
I like a sweat. I like a good sweat. I like to get loose. I like to get sticky. You can fly into Fort Lauderdale and be on the beach in 20 minutes. That's what I like to do. Fort Lauderdale. I don't want to go to Miami. I want to go to Fort Lauderdale. The stadium experience isn't great, but it's going to be a good game when you get there. So that's why I have it as a 5-star, because of the weather, the ease of commute, and the fact that it's going to be a pretty good game.
So I don't fault you for your choice because this was my third favorite.
Okay.
Trip. And I like it for all the reasons you mentioned. To me, it's just, you do it every year, or you have the opportunity to do it every year. Okay. And there is one venue to me that's a little more special for the real football fan that's going to make a trip. It's going to go on the road to see their team play, see them play a place where they don't get to play all that often. My second choice would be Green Bay. And I know the weather might suck and I know the trip might suck out there, but damn it, I want to go to Lambeau and I want to watch the Patriots. That's what I would be thinking as a Patriots fan.
It's Wrigley Field. It's Fenway Park. It's Bill Belichick against Aaron Rodgers for probably the last time. I mean, you owe it to yourself, even if it's cold. And if it is cold, maybe that adds to the attraction a little bit, right?
No doubt.
As a child of the 70s, the Steelers were everything. And that was a downtrodden city through the 70s and the 80s, but there was just a mystique about the Steelers and a mystique about Pittsburgh. And I was a huge Steelers fan along with the Patriots because of how they looked and who they were, and Jack Lambert and Mel Blount and everything else. So I'm a sucker for Pittsburgh. That's why I have them next. Additionally, Phil, give me your impressions of the city and the Pittsburgh experience.
I love the Pittsburgh experience. So let me just clarify. Pittsburgh is ahead of Green Bay for you.
No, right behind it. I was letting Green Bay stick.
Okay, gotcha. So you've got Vegas, Miami, Green Bay, then Pittsburgh.
I just kicked my light over. Hold on. Yeah, keep going. Yeah, I got Green Bay 3.
Listen, I like Pittsburgh for a bunch of different reasons because I think the city is great. The city is clean. The city has a lot of great food establishments. It's got a lot of character. There's a nice little downtown area that you can walk around pretty easily. And the stadium itself is really nice. That's one of my favorite stadiums in the NFL.
You get all the rivers coming together. You see people on jet skis out there. It's
great
walkable.
Fan base. Great fan base.
From your hotel. There's old ass bars and restaurants. There's neighborhood bars and restaurants. And I think visually, if you've not been to Pittsburgh, visually, it's like the most striking. It is the most striking vision in the NFL, if you ask me. You come out of that Fort Pitt tunnel onto a big ass yellow bridge, because you always thought of Pittsburgh as yellow and black. It's a yellow bridge. You look to the left, you can see the baseball stadium. You can see the football stadium on that bridge. You know you're in Pittsburgh. You got a bridge under you. You have this huge mountain with trolleys going up and down it behind you. And again, it's a very accessible, walkable city. I love it there. I just wish it wasn't, you know what? I wish it wasn't such a long drive. I'd go to Pittsburgh for a weekend, boom, heartbeat.
Definitely. You stay maybe at the Renaissance Pittsburgh. You got a nice view of everything right across the way. You said it. I mean, there's a lot to like about Pittsburgh. And again, it's like a lot of these cities. You might not catch it on the best weather day, but if you catch it on a good weather day, this trip for me might shoot all the way up to number 2. It might do that.
2001 AFC Championship game. People on jet skis in that river, whichever one it was. There's 3 of them there, zipping around right before the Patriots advanced to their first Super Bowl. Phil, right behind Pittsburgh, what would you have? Well, I'll tell you what I got. I got Arizona. Concurrence?
I'm with you. So the only place where we diverge is we have Miami and Green Bay flipped, but otherwise we are in lockstep. Arizona's
I got
at
some
5
changes.
for me.
I got some changes in my list since you've seen it.
Well, I haven't seen your list. You've changed your list. I'm just going off of mine.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Arizona.
Yeah.
Boom.
Arizona at 5. Yeah. It shocks me, Tom, that the people out there have Arizona as the second best trip after Vegas. I don't know. What does that say about your followership?
They like the golf.
They love to golf.
They like it warm. They like the golf. Because they got Miami 3rd. No, they got Green Bay 3rd. Yeah, they like it warm. They like the golf.
And Arizona's it's not a bad place to visit.
You got great weather. If you've never been to the desert, you have no occasion to go there. I had no occasion to go there until I covered the Patriots. I've been there like 4 times. Love it. Kind of boring, though. There's no real downtown to go to in downtown Phoenix. You can
How
go to
dare you
Scottsdale,
slander? How dare you slander Marley's that way? Thunder Dan Marley's.
No, I know. I've been to Thunder Dance. I enjoyed myself. The 07 Super Bowl. And, there's some, it's just not
14
not
Super Bowl.
City vibe of
14 Super Bowl as well.
The team's okay. It's not going to be a great game, but it'll be kind of amusing to watch Kyler run around. But it's a long ass flight.
It's a long trip to go for like an okay game to an okay city. That's the only thing for me. I get people wanting to go to where it's warm during football season. I get that. It just it's right in the right spot, right in the middle for us here.
Wait a second. Oh, okay. I put Cleveland next.
Same.
Okay. Why?
Listen, I don't even really know Cleveland that well, but I know enough people from Cleveland that I respect Cleveland. Okay. I may not love Cleveland, but God, I respect it.
God
right?
damn it, I respect it.
Listen, it's going to have an actual city feel downtown. There's stuff going on. I just know, Tom, I know that I would have it ahead of these next 3 that we're going to talk about.
You can walk to the stadium. It's a historic NFL city, even though the history is bleak. It's like an original 6. The team's going to be decent to good. And you know what? For a fan, it's an easy flight. It's an easy commute. It's a low budget commute. It's going to be a low budget stay. You're not going to be going all the way across the country, zing zang, you back and forth, and no one gets hurt. And it's actually an easier commute than the next one I have, Phil, which might surprise you, but I know you have this sitting near and dear to your heart. I have Buffalo next.
Oh,
do you have Minnesota ahead of them?
I've got Minnesota ahead of them.
Yeah,
Buffalo to me is a brutal trip.
The more I looked at Minnesota, the less redeeming I found it. There's nothing to like about Minnesota. Buffalo is a dive bar, and you can have a great time at a dive bar.
You can have a great time at a dive bar, and I've had a great time in Buffalo. I've been out with the Bills Mafia. I've done the tailgate thing. We shot a great video a couple of years ago. Me right in the thick of it. Ketchup and mustard splattered all over me with Pinto Ron, and no, I had some fun out there in Buffalo. Tom, the trip to Buffalo is sneaky ridiculous. It's miserable. There's like 1 flight a day. You get stuck there if the weather's bad. It's just
stadium sucks. The sidelines are good. Stadium sucks.
Stadium's tough. I look at Minnesota as it's not Pittsburgh. I don't want to put it there, but I do remember eating. I remember eating really well for the 2017 week of the Super Bowl.
Leading up to food court.
No, there's like some great steakhouses in Minnesota in the city there. I don't know. It was cold
to even leave the friggin'
It was very
hotel.
cold. It was like -6 every night. But,
you should have seen Phil and I.
But I actually had some fun in Minnesota.
Tell the Super Bowl Sunday story.
Oh no, this is miserable. I don't even like thinking about it. But basically, Tom and I got in an Uber to go to the stadium the day of the Super Bowl.
The Courtyard by Marriott across from the Mall of America.
So we're in the Uber, and we're in a guy who clearly has just started his Uber career, trying to take advantage of all the people that are in town, which I get. I respect it. I respect the hustle. I respect the grind. We get a call. We got to go back. We got to pick up Gerard Mayo's press pass so that he can get in. He can analyze football for us. I still am waiting on a thank you from him for that. So we go out of our way to go get the press pass. We go in to go to the stadium. The Uber driver can't get us any closer than like, I would say 1.5 miles from the stadium somehow. 2 miles.
Not like 6, but maybe 2.
And there's 2 inches of snow on the ground, and it's probably 4 degrees. And we have
2
TV
inches
to
of
do.
slushy snow.
Yeah, slushy snow. And we get dropped off about 1.5 miles. And I'm like, I don't know. At my best, Tom, I'm like a 7-minute mile guy. And
Well, why were we were under a deadline, were we not?
Well, I had to be on TV. Yeah, I don't know why you didn't have to be on TV. You didn't have to be on TV. I had to be on TV before you. I don't know what that was about. So I just said, we got to go. We got to just take off. Like, there's no time for caring about, our appearances here.
We got out of the guy's Uber.
We got out of the guy's Uber and just started trucking it. And after about 100 yards, I'm pretty sure you were like, just go. Just go on without me.
And there was the great thing is there was no convincing involved. All I saw, he looked like Roger friggin' Bannister, just taking off.
I was cooking.
Wearing like Docksiders or some shit.
I was cooking. I still have those shoes, believe it or not. They still
with a backpack on.
They're still fine. Backpack on, suit on,
huge parka, probably wearing his glasses, all fogged up.
I probably
down
was.
on the bridge of his nose.
I do remember getting to security, so I'm like, really?
Yeah, he definitely
cooking.
looked like a terrorist.
And I get into the little security tent, out of breath, sweaty, slush all over me because I'm just kicking it up. It's all over my pants. My shoes are a disaster. And like they started laughing at me. Luckily they did not think I was a terrorist. I was getting laughed at as soon as I stepped in the little security tent. Because it was so early. We were still hours and hours and hours before the game started.
It's
so
like,
it was
11 o'clock and the game kicks off at 6. We're running around like assholes. So you got to argue with Barrett Brooks.
So I get through security and I did miss my hit. I missed my hit by like a couple minutes. It just didn't happen. Which they knew. I think I made a call while I was running to somebody. I don't know if it was to Kevin Miller or somebody else, but it's just like, I don't think I'm going to get there for this.
And I don't like running for distance. I'm a fairly active guy for my age, very active, but I don't like running, and as everybody knows, the first 2.5-3 minutes of running are a big test.
I remember actually getting to our site, the site of our shot. And I think Jeff Capitasto, our producer, was like, okay, we'll see what we can do. Maybe we can hold it off a couple minutes. And so I get there and Giardi's there. And I'm like, hey, do we do the hit? Do we get time? And he's like, oh, no, you missed that. That was about 10 minutes ago. You missed that. Oh, okay. Just going to go sit down on this curb over here and cry because I'm in just such a bad mood. But that was a good start to a long day. We ended up having a good day.
A long day that only got worse as the day went on. But as I'm running, like, you've had a week's worth of like triple cheese steaks, burgers, sat there and ate mall food all week.
Right.
So I'm taking off at a dead
Shake
sprint
Shack.
after probably having been out on Saturday night to some extent. Dead sprint in 4-degree weather in the slush. I'm like, go.
It was so cold. It stings your lungs a little bit. You like don't even want to take a deep breath. It was that cold. I remember Marcus Cannon. We saw Marcus Cannon out one night
at the bar stool
with nothing but a plain white t-shirt, and it was -6, -8, something like that every single night we were there, and I was just
that's it.
in
we were
awe
at the
of
bar
Marcus
stool party
Cannon,
the night before.
Texas guy. I don't think it was the night before. I don't think it was the night before. Was it? Will we have done that the night before?
No, it
the
wasn't,
Super Bowl?
because actually I remember my cousin called me Saturday night because there was a rough and rowdy or some shit that he wanted to go to because they did something too the next night. I'm like, I'm in bed. Be that
But
as it
anyway,
may,
yeah, that was Minnesota for me. So maybe I should bump it down.
you know
it down.
what also never happened? Here's what Mayo would do when he saw something like that. Phil, you look terrible.
Yeah.
What'd you do? Just come out of a pool? You look terrible. Don't go on TV like that.
And the entire thing was his fault. He didn't get his media pass.
Oh, you look awful.
No wonder he couldn't last in our business. That guy couldn't hack it.
Grind on him. So I got Minnesota all the way down there behind Buffalo. And then there's absolutely nothing redeeming about the Jets except that you can drive to it.
You can. So here's the reason why I put Jersey ahead of Buffalo is you can get to New York City. You can stay in New York City the night before and drive up. You can do that.
What do you want to do in New York City? I mean, I know it's a city that never
I don't know.
sleeps.
It's
There's a
like
lot
the
to do.
greatest city in the world. One of them.
I don't know. Sometimes I find New York too big to negotiate.
Well, it is
like you have to pick a place to go. You have to pick a thing you want to do.
I know what you're saying because that's my argument for Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is very walkable. It's very it's not massive. You can figure out a good area to go and then just kind of mosey. But you can do that in New York too.
All the years I went to the Jets games, I would stay at the Newark Airport Marriott and never go in the city. I don't think I ever went in the city once. I might have tried one time.
I think you and I stayed in the city one year before a game. Yeah.
Oh, with that nice. Yeah. Actually, this is a great Marriott, folks. It's the one near the World Trade Center, right?
Yeah. Yeah. My best buddy from college was living in New York at the time. I was like, I think I'm going to go do New York. And you were like, we should do that. Let's do that.
And we did. We took okay. I lied. That's the only time. Right next to the new World Trade Center. It's down Financial District. I actually, I loved it there. I actually was thinking of going back down there this summer with Erica. Go down because we met in Hoboken, New Jersey, back in 1990.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Met in Hoboken. Yep. All right.
Sounds like you get the trip all mapped out.
Put a lid on it.
I think we did. Yeah, I think we did a good job. You think we helped the people with this list or no?
I think so. Bear in mind, Cleveland's better than you think. Minnesota's much worse than you think. Buffalo's a pain in the ass.
It's in Pittsburgh. I'm here to plant my flag for Pittsburgh. If you're thinking of going and doing a trip to Pittsburgh,
it's one of our better pods, sneakily right here. Good job.
I agree. You too.